The next speaker, Baroness Bennett.
My Lords, I would like to first of all associate the Green Group with Lord Addington's very useful amendments about transparency and accountability, and also those of the Noble Earl of Devon, who just referred to 131 and 133. He does display a touching faith in the regularity of the electoral cycle in his comments, but nonetheless, I think a 7-year time frame is much more realistic. Primarily, however, I wish to speak to Amendment 112 in the name of the Noble Lord Grantchester, which I was pleased to add my name to. And this is a really simple, practical amendment that says that financial assistance should be rolled over if it's not spent in 1 year. Now, the Noble Lord, in his comments on this, referred to the risk of funding going down if it's not spent. There is also, of course, the other risk and I'm sure as members of your Lordship's House spending much time over their lives on committees know the rush that often happens at the end of the year to spend money before it runs out or disappears. And that's something that we don't want to see happening and don't want to encourage. And if we think particularly about farming and growing, dependence on the weather is going to mean sometimes things simply can't be done in a particular year. I also was pleased to add my name to the Amendment 227, moved by the Noble Baroness Young of Old Scone. She has not yet had the opportunity to speak to that amendment, which is also backed by the Earl of Caithness. But I'll just briefly reflect that this calls for a land use strategy for England and focuses on the two key issues of carbon storage and biodiversity. And I'm sure that most members of your Lordship's House would agree, for example, with the phrase of the right tree in the right place. Until we get towards that goal, we need a strategy to head in that direction. And I would also suggest to your Lordship's House that any land use strategy would have to consider whether there are not some current existing land uses in England that really cannot be allowed to continue because of the damage that they're doing environmentally all round. And I'd refer particularly to the issue of driven grouse shooting, which is real issues in terms of carbon storage and flooding, and indeed is very spatially closely associated with illegal persecution of raptors. Something we saw just coming out this morning with the police releasing horrific information about the killing of a goshawk. I also wish to comment on Amendment 228, moved by the Noble Earl of Dundee, to which I was pleased to also add my name. This refers to supporting landowners to make land available to particularly new growers, new farmers, new entrants into the industry. Now, we're seeing some exciting developments happening. I know in Suffolk, there's discussion of a concept of jigsaw farming, in which way a farmer or a landowner might be able to welcome onto their land a large number of different growers occupying small parcels, developing their businesses. We've seen organisations like the Biodynamic Land Trust and the Kindling Trust had to work very, very hard to find land to make it available to people who want to enter the industry. And elsewhere, we've had reference to county farms. Of course, we have a huge problem in England with the massive concentration of land ownership. Your Lordship's House has heard me refer before and again, will again, to the issue of land reform, something we need to come back to. But for those landowners who wish to make their land available to others, I think it's important that this bill includes provision to make sure that happens and financial assistance where that would be useful. I also just briefly want to show my support for Amendments 127 and 134, backed by my noble friend. Again, looking at strategic priorities, multi-annual plans, creating certainty for farmers.
Thank you. The next speaker.